If you watch Queen's Gambit on Netflix, you might have heard of this quote that Carokann is all pawns and no hope. Well, this Indian Grandmaster might disagree, and he might even say that Carokann is full of hope because he himself has won a lot of games in the Carokann with the black side. Yes, I'm talking about India's 36th Grandmaster Ankit Rajpara. It is his birthday today. Fabulous birthday to Ankit, and we wish him a great year ahead. So here I have 4 positions from the games of Ankit. Special thanks to him for sending us his games. You can choose your move while I talk about Ankit. So Ankit started chess at the age of 8. His uncle taught him as a hobby, and then later I met Ankit, I think during the under 11 nationals in Nagpur, and then later I communicated with him during the World Youth Championship in Vietnam. That is the event where Vidit won the tournament, and later Ankit got bronze medal in Asian Youth Under 14 in 2008. He got bronze in Asian Youth Under 16. He's also won the Cannes Open in 2014. He has represented India in more than 20 events, and he's got the national individual gold medal in the national teams event in 2015. And he also won this Checkmate COVID online MPL tournament, and because he won the event, he was also featured in the commercials, and that commercial was all in the TV. And he's also got second place, shared second in Lienz, and Knight is his favorite chess piece. He also reads books, and some of the books that he mentioned are When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalniti, and the Silent Patient by Alex, which is also featured in Vishnu Prasanna's episode, and then Freakonomics by Stefan Dubner and Steven. And favorite movies include Shawshank Redemption, Gladiator, and the series House MD. And regarding the life lesson from chess, he says that like in the game of chess, you can't change your past mistakes, but if you don't give up and fight, then you can minimize the impact of them and emerge successful in the end. This somehow reflects the journey of Ankit, because there were a few occasions where we were also working together, and I used to observe his chess journey very closely, and there were moments where he used to reach the required rating and then come back and then go up and then come back. So eventually, after many attempts, he finally made it to the GM title. So yes, he worked on his mistakes and then later eventually became a grandmaster. So again, an inspiring journey. From his games, what I can show you today is some of his exciting moments that he sent us, and there was also this fascination that he has with Carokann. So I themed it around that. So this is the first position, of course not related to Carokann, but a very good moment to understand the mind of a grandmaster. It's white to play, and Ankit realized that his opponent wants to play pawn to e5, and the king is in the center. Considering these two factors, Ankit realized that it's very important that white breaks in the center, and he chose e5. If you found this move amazing, this is not so easy because it requires a certain understanding that white has to go e5, and after e5 black went 000. I think the next critical moment in this game was this moment after knight a4, gf. I think there's one more moment which I want to show you as to why the pawn cannot be taken. Here, after e5 knight b6, he was very careful not to blunder in this position. ef6, a move that looks very obvious, is not the best move in the position. Take a moment to see why. Alright, the answer is e5, and this bishop is now targeting a2 thanks to the queen on a6. So white has to commit b3, and then black will safely capture the pawn, and thanks to this weakness, black is very much in the game. So in this position, he did not go for ef6, he chose a3, and then after rook e8, then he took ef6, considering the fact that the bishop is no longer looking at a2 pawn. And then there was this moment which I must show you after knight a4, ef6, gf6, knight e2, b4, ab, knight takes b2, king b2, queen a2 check, king c1, and e4. This is the second moment that I had prepared. What will you do as white? The obvious d takes e4, it fails because of queen a1 mate, so you can't really take the pawn. If you move the knight, let's say to knight d2, then it's just mate in 5 in black's favor, queen check, and then the usual pattern, something to remember, game over. So you have to be really careful. So this is the move in this position. You play d4 and you give up the piece, and this is also quoted as a very important move by Ankit in his annotations, is keeping the d file closed. And after pawn takes knight, queen takes pawn, bishop d5, queen c3, the pieces are coordinated and white is the piece up, and then later he went on to win the game. Next position against Yakovich, and this time Ankit played slightly different. He went really aggressive from the very beginning. As soon as his opening preparation ended here, I think I'll just go to that moment after queen d6, g3, and I think this is a position. What will you do as black? So I'm giving you a clue here. Ankit went slightly aggressive in this position, and he played the move h5. So the idea is to be very consistent with his approach in the opening. He wanted to go and make the game slightly more complex, and this was his way of doing it. After h5, rook d1, he went queen e6 and then went h4. Now, I asked you a question in the beginning. I think that's the moment I'm going to now. After h3, so why does this play pawn to h3? Again, your chance. What will you do as black? The move is beautiful, and it is keeping the light squares in mind. This bishop on a8 is a monster. Queen could come to b7 anytime. Also, if the queen lands on g3, then black has great chances to win the game. So based on these two factors, Ankit found knight g5 is now threatening knight h3 directly. Yes, there is a pawn on f4, but the knight, if the knight is taken, black takes, queen takes pawn, and queen g3 comes. And if white prevents queen g3 with queen e1, then black just takes the bishop, and this is really a good position for black. So after h3, knight g5, his opponent played rook f1, and then he got queen b7, threatening queen h1. And after fg5, he first took rook takes e5, because now after queen check, he has more threats. So in this position, white had to play king h2, which he did, and then came queen c7, threatening a discovered check. And then after rook f4, the game was ended immediately. White could probably play king g1 again, but white played rook f4. Nevertheless, black is still better. After rook f4, it just piled up pressure on the e line with rook e8, and then after g6, just a very simple f6, and then he won the game. Opponent resigned because e3 is falling, and with that, black is winning as well. Next position, this was his game against Arkady Nadish, and Arkady Nadish is 2700 plus. So let me just flip the board. Yes, and here comes the delight, the Carokann defense after e5, bishop f5. So here it's not very clear whether that move which Ankit played here is best or not, but I really like the approach he took in the game. His opponent has just played pawn to h3, and Ankit played a move that is not so easy to make during a game. Okay, so in this position, Ankit played knight to g8. I remember seeing something very similar in Agard's book. So after knight g8, the plan is to play h5, and then at g4, also giving some hope for the rook on h8. After knight g8, knight e1, he got h5, and then he took on g4. In this position, the next critical moment is, in this position he went for bishop g3, and after king g3 he played queen h4, and here king g2 is met by queen h2 mate, so king f4. So this is the position I gave you. It is black to move. What will you do as black? Congratulations if you found queen h2 check. And of course, white king should go to e4. If he goes to g5, then that's just dangerous. After queen e5, knight f5, you can just play maybe something like f6, or even just play king f8 and then play rook f6, and then eventually trap the king. But if the king goes to f5, then again the king on f5, that itself tells us that eventually black will manage to checkmate. A move like knight d7 is also fine. So after queen h2, his opponent played king e4, and in this moment Ankit writes in his annotations that knight e7 was really good. The point is, if white plays bishop b5 to pin this bishop, then you don't take the bishop, because of course taking the bishop would mean game over. You can see this. So he paid special attention to this threat, and he says king f8 is the move, and then if bishop into c6, there is knight c6 threatening queen e5, and the game goes on. It's not one-sided, but it's very complex. But in the game, Ankit played knight d7, and after king d3, he castled on the queen side, and after king c2, knight takes e5. he writes that bishop d2 was the only move to like keep the game going, but his opponent played queen d2, which meant that the knight on d5 remains under pain, and so knight f6, and black is on top again. After knight e7, king b8, knight c6, knight c6. Black's pieces are very active and white's pieces are not coordinated. Based on these factors, Ankit went on to win the game. The finish is really nice, so I will take you through it. In this position, after knight f7, he goes rook h2, and then after bishop e3, doesn't bother with the rook, first plays knight d3, and you see rook into b2 is threatened. And if white takes the rook also, just cd4, and this mate is unavoidable. And what a mate. So after knight d3, his opponent played bishop c1, and then came knight c4. And again, knight takes c1 is also a threat. After rook d1, he just played knight c1, and now if the rook is taken here, black can just take cd4, king c1, there is rook h1, and this rook b2 is also hanging. So this way he went on to win against Arkady Naidish. I think it's a really strong player. So that was Ankit Rajpara, and I hope you liked his wins and interesting moments, and I hope this also inspires you to take the Carokann opening. And it's a solid opening, and it's been played by many strong grandmasters, and there are a lot of experts. You can also study the classic players like Karpov to enrich your understanding of the Carokann, and also take a look at games of Ankit Rajpara in the Carokann. I will wind up today, and I'll be back with another video soon. Until then, take care. Bye bye.